What's the worst case of being spoiled rotten you've ever witnessed? My roommate is an application essay reader for a university's business school. He was just telling me about a kid who wrote his overcoming hardship essay about how he really wanted a boat because all of his friends had boats, and it was hard for him to be left out. Then he overcame his hardship when his parents bought a boat. I guess his hardship wasn't a hardship to get. I was at the Ford dealership getting my oil changed and killing time by walking through the big showroom. There's a Mustang GT 350 sitting in the middle with a huge bow on it, and folks gathered around waiting for someone. Minutes later, the family comes in with their son, who immediately yells about wanting it in blue instead of black and dents the passenger door with a swift kick. The parents didn't even have money. He wanted new clothes and was told no, so he put his clothes in the bathtub and poured bleach on them. The parents bought him new clothes. Holy crap, that would have been a bleachy clothes-wearing dude if it was my son. Yep. The only way to get kids to realize that being a craphead isn't going to benefit them is to let them do it and deal with the consequences. Eventually, they'll learn that being a jackass doesn't pay off. In high school, 1987, this really pretty girl was about to turn 16, and her parents got her a fully frame-up restored 65 Mustang. It wasn't what she wanted, so they got her a new Porsche 944. Not the only one at my school. It was customized with rims and upholstery that had her name embroidered on it. When she graduated, they got her a new Lexus sedan. Her father was a preacher at a small rural church. Her mom was a stay-at-home trophy wife. Still have no idea how they pulled that off. I worked at a tax office, and I can tell you that religion is a very profitable business. Sister refuses to look for a job and, as a result, moves back home. She uses my parents' vehicle to drive around with her boyfriend and go to parties and stuff. One day, there's a family emergency, and the car is not in the driveway for her to use. She throws a tantrum, trashes the house, and runs away with her boyfriend. By the way, my sister is 22 years old. That kind of sounds like the problem solved itself. A girl in my high school had totaled 4 cars by the time she graduated on account of crashing 2, flipping one onto someone else's lawn, and accidentally running someone else's car completely over. I have to be honest, 4 cars in presumably less than 5 years is almost impressive in terms of a person's inability to coordinate or learn from their mistakes, not to mention somehow not getting their license revoked. Okay, I've got one. My boyfriend's little half-sister, her parents are real hippies. They live at least 40 minutes from the nearest town, which doesn't have much anyway. They live on an eco-friendly hamlet, which her parents built from scratch. Since the age of, say, 10, she's now 16, my boyfriend's sister has been a stealer of money. Started off by taking coins when she was babysitting for neighbors, eventually finding out where stashes of cash were kept. The neighbors found out and told her parents. They were mortified, but didn't do much apart from telling her off and making her promise she wouldn't do it again. Little things like that happened, and the same outcome. Then her granddad passed away, who left a share of $1 million to her mother, which was used to upgrade the farm, buy more land, among other things. She stole money from her dead granddad's wallet in his freaking pocket when he was lying in the house dead when no one was looking. All she got was a bit of a telling off. She never has to give the money back because she spends it first. Her parents just say, "Work it off by doing chores." Now she's 16, and her latest crimes have been stealing her mom's card to buy hundreds of dollars worth of makeup online. Her parents took the makeup from her, hoping to return it, but not before she replaced the makeup in the boxes with old bottles. They let her keep the makeup after this, and still let her do all her school camps and parties. The last I heard, her parents had started a B&B and made a couple of grand, only to have it disappear because she found out their internet banking passwords, transferred it to herself, and then spent it on food, friends, and makeup all in one weekend before they could find out. Her punishment? Work it off by doing chores. It makes me sick. I had to do chores for free. I'm still doing chores for free in my own house. Freaking heck. I was in Toys R Us in the 90s. This mother and her daughter, who had to be around 12, were shopping. The girl asks if she can have some toy. The mother said no. We're here to get a gift for someone else. The girl asked once or twice more, and the mom declined. The girl then said, "Phew, mommy," and took off running. The mother chased her while the kid cussed her out. Eventually, it must have ended. I went to check out, and the mother-daughter couple were behind me. The mother not only got the toy she wanted, but actually apologized to the daughter. That was my cousin Zach. But when we left Toys R Us, his dad made him give the toy to Salvation Army. He cried, and I got yelled at for laughing. Okay, this is an opposite case, but it's a great counterpoint. I know a multi-millionaire chick, maybe $95 million in net worth. She's a friend of my ex-wife. We hang out with her on a semi-regular basis. At any rate, one day, years ago, my kid is playing some Game Boy DS share game with her sons. It's a game that my kid has, her boys don't. They finally finish the game while the grown-ups are getting lit and eating way too much crab. One of her boys runs up to his mom and asks, "Can you get this game? It's really fun." She says, "Oh, money's tight." "I'll tell you what, put it on. Your Christmas list, that's only a couple of months away, okay?" "Okay." And with that, all of the kids went downstairs to play whatever on the whatever device. I looked at her and said, "Money's tight?" She related the tale of how the kids have no idea that they have money. It was the way she was raised. She didn't discover the money until she graduated university. At first, she was teed off because her college could have been so much easier with money. But a few months after graduation, she started thinking back on how teed off she had been at the wealthy kids who just bought their way out of every problem that came their way, and how disgusted she had been at the way they lived their lives. She apologized to her dad and swore that she would raise her kids exactly the same way. She lives in a modest little house, and her boys wear sneakers until they destroy them. They will find out when they graduate college. Oh, this is one of my favorite spoiled kid come-uppance stories ever. I had a friend, Don, who had 2 kids a year apart in age. When his son turned 16, Don was ready to give him his pristine Volkswagen. Don really babied his cars, so this Jetta, though about 7 years old, was truly in like-new condition, a car that most normal 16-year-olds would be thrilled to have. I would have been thrilled to have it myself. So Don tells his son the plan, and his son goes, "Dad, I'm not driving that car. It's a 7-year-old Jetta. I need a new pickup truck." After taking a deep breath so he didn't throttle his son, Don simply said, "Well then, I'll drive the Jetta for 1 more year and give it to your sister when she's 16. If you want a new pickup truck, then you'll have to either ask your mother or buy one yourself." Now, Don and his kid's mother had been divorced for years, and through a series of bad choices. His ex-wife had barely 2 dimes to rub together. Don had gotten remarried to a woman who was very successful and a wealthy business owner. His son very mistakenly thought that Don and his current wife would foot the bill for whatever the son wanted. How very wrong he was. Fast forward a year, and his daughter was very happily driving around the Jetta. Don bought himself a brand new Mazda. His son has access to neither of them. In desperation, he bought himself a crappy $800 beater just to get himself to and from work. Lesson learned, I hope. I applaud Don for sticking to his guns and not teaching his kid to be an entitled butthole at an early age. A friend of mine is married to a very rich man, old coal money or something. No one in the family has to work because they just live off investments. Anyway, she was crying one day because her mother-in-law was threatening to cut her husband's allowance and he might have to get a job. Cripes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hate having to do stuff for a living sometimes, but having to do what the rest of the population does to continue your elevated style of living shouldn't be this much of a dream crusher. There are some follow-ons to this comment. I want to know what these people do all day. I can understand not bothering with a 9-5 if you're filthy rich, but there are only so many Lamborghinis to crash and so many expensive substances to absorb in one's lifetime. Charity and socializing, I suppose. I know a guy who had a few homes his family owned, and he had no wife or kids or siblings. Actually, some of his siblings had died tragically. He's not filthy rich, just comfortable and has it best to do some repairs and find good tenants, so he doesn't really work. The tragedies killed his drive. He spent all of his time reading and collecting books, and he bought so many off of Amazon that they just keep sending him books for free to review. You know, aside from the tragedies, that sounds peaceful. He has what he wants and probably doesn't need to worry about it. I can't imagine what I'd trade for his siblings back, though. I was on my high school's newspaper staff, and we always did a section on cars in the parking lot where we highlighted one crappy car and one super nice car, and then interviewed both owners. Everyone loved it, and don't worry, the crappy car owners were always super excited to be a part of it, and they always had the best stories. So we picked Snobette Snoy because she's got a nice brand new Range Rover or something, and after I'm the last to call not it, I'm forced to interview her. What's your favorite feature of the car? Well, one time I forgot to put it in park and it started rolling away, but it didn't roll that fast, so probably that. Or my G-Easy bumper sticker. Have you got any funny stories about your car? Yeah, when my parents first got it for me, I was making faces at my friend and turned left when it wasn't an arrow and I totaled it. So they got me the same one again. I managed to sneak into the article, Snoy's son has managed to keep her car undamaged since October. It was January when I wrote the article. When I turned 16, all I wanted for my birthday was to see the Blue Man Group perform. I saved my own money to pay for the ticket. I gave my mom the money, and I was really excited because my mom said she had the tickets and everything. My mom, my sister, and I all got in the car to go see the show. We arrived at the wrong place and I immediately thought something was wrong. When I asked my mom why we were there, she said that my sister wanted to see Miley Cyrus, so she just bought the tickets for that instead. I was so blown away that even though it was my birthday and my money, my sister had the final say over what we ended up doing. I refused to see the show and opted to walk through the casino the entire time instead. I'll throw out the disclaimer that the guy wasn't a jerk. He was actually okay, but the stunning privilege was both jaw-dropping and hilarious. A Hispanic guy in college came from a pretty wealthy family. He had never had a job before, which isn't really that crazy for his age and being a student, though I'd been working all throughout college. One day, he decided to get a job because he was bored and wanted to see what it was like. I forgot where he got a job at, but it was a pretty laid-back part-time job pushing paper in an office setting. A few weeks after starting, we were hanging out and he's talking about work. He reached into his pocket and says, "Today they gave me this. What am I supposed to do with it?" It was his paycheck. I stared at him for a second and said, "My man, that's your check." "What do you mean, what do I do with it? You deposit it in your bank." He says, "I don't know what to do with that. My dad just puts money in there. I don't look at it. I just take money out from ATMs or use my card." Not wanting to walk the poor idiot through such an easy process, I just tell him to take it to a grocery store and cash it. What he said next made me nearly fall off the couch in disbelief. He said, "What do you mean, cash it? Like they'll just give me money for this? Must be real nice to have that amount of wealth. My employer's 2 sons have everything paid for, so they never have to worry about cost. They both have everything they want and need. One of them likes expensive shiny things, and he's always thrown fits until he got what he wanted. From what his dad told me, for Christmas, he wanted a $1,200 55-inch Samsung Curve TV, even after his dad stated that his budget was $1,000 each. Also, wow, he threw fits and got mad at his dad, and his dad, being the wimp that he is, apologized and ended up buying it for him anyway. The son is 21 years old. When my brother broke off one of the rearview mirrors on my father's nicest car 2 days before getting his license driving illegally because he couldn't be bothered with the 5-minute walk to the store on a mild sunny day to get a can of soda, and then he just put the car in the garage like nothing happened, my parents bought him a brand new motorcycle so that he wouldn't be tempted to borrow the car anymore. I may have been worse, but this was in my family. When I was 15, I was dating this girl that I met at a coffee shop downtown. Her parents were loaded, like home movie theater, wine cellar, live-in maid loaded. The girl got a brand new Lexus for her 16th birthday. It took her 4 times to pass her driving test. A week later, she totaled the car, so they bought her another one. Her parents also flew her from California to London to go school clothes shopping. Went to school with a girl who got a 2012 BMW and literally cried and cussed out her parents because she didn't get a 2015. I knew one girl who got a hot pink Hummer for a quinceañera. Since she still had a year before she could drive, she decided to keep the Hummer for no apparent reason and got a Mercedes Roadster once she turned 16. Knew another girl who got a Mercedes G-Wagon for her 16th. She crashed it a week later on purpose because her stepdad bought it as an attempt to buy her love and she caught him cheating on her mom. Don't know if that's exactly worth it. Recurring theme for the video is rich, awful kids burning more money than some grown, hard-working adults have in their accounts just because they have no appreciation for money. So gross. In college, I knew a girl whose daddy was some big-shot banker or something, made enough that the wife didn't have to work, and 3 kids could go to expensive schools with little financial aid. This girl didn't have to work during college and had all of her supplies and lodging paid for by daddy and got to fly home every time there was a 3-day weekend, all on her father's dime. I once had to borrow $10 from her to pay for some food when we went out to eat. I promised I'd pay her back once I got my check next week. At the time, I worked for a cafe, and she seemed cool with it. Turns out she was not cool with it and promptly bashed me on her blog and to all her other friends, calling me a bad person and a thief because I borrowed $10, which I had paid her back, by the way. I brought up the blog posts, and she was very embarrassed. Last I heard of her, she's living in a daddy-paid Manhattan apartment, working part-time as a receptionist at a yoga studio. She started a new blog about the struggle. Another instance, this was back in high school, so the details are a little fuzzy, but there were 2 girls. One was the daughter of oil money, and the other the daughter of a garbage truck company. They always tried to outdo each other. The oil money girl got a brand new Audi convertible when she got her license. Oh God, I knew the worst one. Big shot oil daddy, and she was the most insufferable human I've ever witnessed. Tried to brand herself as this super environmentalist hippie but used all of her dad's oil money for weekly trips across the country in private jets with an insane wardrobe and fancy dinners. I've never seen someone use money so frivolously while constantly social media preaching about all the earth has given her, or whatever. Seriously, her Instagram posts are hilarious. An undressed picture of herself with her chest blurred out. As I'm soaked in the bright and glorious sun, I'm moved with gratitude. I give thanks for every part of my body for warrioring me through life and for simply being. Thank you, water. You are life. May we protect you as you do for us. For the past week, I've been deep in shadow. What a darker tone this is compared to the rose-gold clouds I normally drift in. I've leaned into the unknowns and I've chosen to grace it all. Pain's grace peace. I am blissful. They just go on and on like that. Last I heard, she somehow convinced the school to let her do a special graduation program in Hawaii, and now her dad pays for her to live a get lifestyle, which, if I understand correctly, is just flying all over the world on an insane dime, doing whatever you want. I was on a school bus as a senior. As we stopped at a house, there was a dead dog by the road. The little girl getting off said to her friend, who pointed it out, "Oh yeah, we got him this weekend. My dad will just get me another one, so it doesn't matter." I'm from a rich area in Dallas, Texas, so I've seen some crap. I went back for a visit, and my childhood best friend was complaining that her parents were only letting her go to New Zealand instead of Amsterdam again. Her dad is a multi-millionaire, and both of her teenage brothers drive Teslas. My male best friend was complaining to me that he didn't get to go to prom in a Hummer limo, only a regular stretch limo. He looked like he was going to pass out when I told him that I missed prom in high school to work a night shift. I'm glad I don't know either of those guys anymore. Ugh, New Zealand is awesome, so freak her. We don't need her here. Dated a girl who was given a brand new car for her 16th. She had it for a lot less than a year before she crashed it. Her parents bought her a used car. She had it for about another year before crashing it. They bought her a third car, used, and then when her brother turned 16, she pitched a fit because he got a new car while she had to drive around in her used car. So he ran her over, right? Last I heard, she went down on him. I'm not even kidding. I stopped hanging around that family about that time. She did it, and she told me she did it. As for the why? Well, apparently she was bored. I don't know her personally, but I'm still friends with a guy who dated one of her friends. I heard this from him. We all went to a private, expensive school in the US. The spoiled, rotten girl got a degree in journalism and promptly moved to London to find a job. Her parents rented her an apartment and, I assume, paid for her life for about 2 years before she was forced to move back because she had neither looked for nor got a job while she was there. Once back in the States, she refused to live in her parents' house, citing she was a grown woman. How could this be expected of her? Her parents bought her an apartment in New York City. Last I heard, she still lives in that apartment without a job but has moved because it's in crappy Brooklyn and not Manhattan. I'm an adult, guys. Now use your money to continue to support me in a new catered condo where I cannot lift a finger in peace. My mom had cervical cancer a few years ago and had a full hysterectomy. She was out of work for a while, and my brother and I had to work more hours and basically help out with the majority of the bills and groceries. My then-girlfriend at the time couldn't seem to understand why I wasn't willing to pay hundreds of dollars on a tux and prom stuff. She proceeded to ask me every day if we were going until I finally yelled at her and told her sarcastically that I was sorry my mom had a terminal illness and surgery to remove all of it, and that I was sorry I had to help out with paying the bills. She finally shut up about it and cried to her friends, literally cried at the school she went to, but told them I just didn't want to go. She totally left out the part where my mom was ill. I only learned that the other week when one of the people she cried to got hired at my job and told me what she did. We later broke up because she cheated on me and told everyone I hit her. I've never been in a fight in my life, and I'm afraid to hit anyone because I'm a wimp, I guess. Prom overrules helping my mom with her medical bills. Mom's been well for about 4 years now. The ex has moved on to have 2 babies, and she's not even 22 yet. I dodged a bullet. My friend's dog, he used to barbecue a steak for the dog once or twice a week. Apparently, the dog didn't like it pan-fried. The only human food my cat eats is roast beef, and only when my mom makes it. My cooking? He screams for it, and then when I give him some, he looks at me like I'm trying to poison him. A friend of mine saved up for an iPod when they first came out, literally saved for a year to get one. His mom took him and his sister to the mall so he could purchase this. His sister started throwing a tantrum because she didn't have one as well. Their mom got so fed up with her that she bought the sister one just to shut her up. I've been that brother, it really does kill you inside. Just to make everyone feel good, I had a fist bump moment at the servo with a dad, which started out rotten and turned awesome. His son wanted a kinder surprise, and the dad said no. So the kid threw a kinder surprise on the ground and said, "Now you have to buy it." The teed-off dad pays for the said chocolate and waits for the kid to hold out his hand with a huge smile on his face before throwing it in the bin and dragging the now screaming kid back to the car. Most satisfying turnaround I've ever seen.